Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really fascinating historical encounter that honestly completely redefines what true faith is all about. We're going to be moving way past all that empty, exhausting religious formalism to figure out what true, vibrant life actually looks like based on the text.
So, I want you to imagine this scenario for a second. You are absolutely desperate, and you're trapped by a medical professional who is actually just making things worse. You're constantly sending them money, the endless bills just keep piling up on your kitchen counter, and to make matters even worse, they somehow make you feel like it's your own fault that you aren't getting better. It sounds like a nightmare, right?
12? That is a really, really long time. It's the agonizing number of years a specific woman in our source material suffered with an incurable bleeding condition. Just think about that. She spent over a decade draining her finances without ever finding a cure, becoming entirely exhausted by human methods and all these empty prescriptions. And this brings us to a huge, absolutely crucial contrast in our text today. It's the difference between two completely opposite approaches to spiritual healing. On one side, you have the quack doctor, right? The one who demands exhausting works, takes your money, and ultimately condemns you. But on the flip side, you have the true physician, who demands absolutely nothing and simply offers grace to heal your soul.
Okay, let's jump into Section 1, the misdiagnosis, identifying the spiritual quacks.
To really get a grip on who these spiritual quacks were, the text points us right to the historical setup of the religious leaders during Jesus' time. Let's look at Matthew, a tax collector. Society, and especially the religious elites, labeled this guy an incurable sinner. They saw him as a traitor for collecting taxes for Rome, and they completely wrote him off. But Jesus, acting as the true physician, actively goes out of his way to find him, and even sits down to share a meal with him.
Well, the self-appointed spiritual elites, the Pharisees, they just couldn't stand this. Instead of offering any sort of healing, they used religious law as a weapon to judge people. To them, the idea of actively pursuing a sick, marginalized person with grace, that was completely absurd. It was deeply offensive to their whole system.
Now, this part is incredibly fascinating when you look at the original Greek text. Jesus actually refers to these leaders as hoi eschuantis iatru. Basically, it means people who act like doctors, mistakenly believing they are perfectly healthy themselves, all while misdiagnosing literally everyone else around them. They were, by definition, spiritual quacks.
Moving right along to Section 2, the desperate patient, exhausted by human effort.
So this brings us back to the emotional core of the text, that bleeding woman we mentioned earlier. She is the perfect mirror for humanity's sheer exhaustion with human effort and religious formalism. Her tragic timeline shows exactly what happens when we rely on empty rules to fix our deepest pain. I mean, look at the steps. She sought help, she blew through all her wealth, she found zero cure, and somehow she only grew worse.
Which leads us beautifully into Section 3, the true physician's touch. Life over formalism.
But then her whole story completely flips when she finally has a personal encounter with the true physician. Notice that true healing entirely bypassed all those exhausting religious demands. She didn't have to pay a fee, she didn't have to prove her worth, and there was no strict checklist to follow. She simply reached out in faith for a deeply personal connection, just touching the edge of his garment.
And just listen to his response. "Daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace and be freed from your suffering." The text makes it so clear that Jesus demands absolutely nothing in return. If you're an unbeliever, or maybe you're just exploring faith for the very first time, this right here, this is the true essence of the gospel. It is grace given completely freely, without conditions. It's a free cure that prioritizes true life and a personal encounter over any sort of religious formality.
And the crazy thing is, this wasn't even a new concept. The text connects directly back to ancient scriptures, like Hosea, proving that mercy and an authentic relationship have always been prioritized over empty, formal sacrifices. True faith starts with a genuine connection to God, not a perfect, exhausting religious performance.
All right, let's bring this into the present day with Section 4, Modern Religious Quacks, a critical analysis. Because let's be real, we can objectively see how some modern religious environments still operate exactly like those ancient quacks. They burden people who are just looking for answers with highly transactional demands. Whether it's literally forcing financial offerings in exchange for blessings, or demanding exhausting volunteer service just to earn your salvation, these toxic structures drain people today just like the quack doctors drained that woman centuries ago.
But here is the massive, liberating breath of fresh air you need to take away from this.
The true gospel is not about our exhausting works. True faith? It comes with absolutely zero medical bills. It is not some exhausting transaction where you have to buy your way to peace or work yourself to the bone. It is a completely free gift centered entirely on gaining eternal life.
So it really boils down to this stark difference, especially if you're feeling weighed down by the heavy burdens of modern religion. On one side, you've got religious formalism. It's exhausting, it's transactional, and it's based entirely on your own human effort. And on the flip side, you have the true gospel. It's free, it's highly relational, and it rests entirely on the life and grace of Jesus.
As we wrap up this explainer today, I really want to leave you with a question to chew on for your own spiritual journey. Are you still exhausting yourself with a spiritual quack's transactional prescriptions, or are you ready to reach out and experience the true physician today?